Now, obviously, everybody loves the film, everyone. And it has all the elements of a hit: warmth, humor, pathos. And it's just really, it's fun. Your humor is all over it, and it's absolutely wonderful. And of course, the writing, Eduardo, bravo, bravo. All right, here we go. So the two of you have collaborated with fantastic results, hit television shows, and this film, which is the highest grossing Spanish language film in North America and a big hit in Mexico. As we've just seen in the film, you clearly have, there's a chemistry, a magic between you. But this film is not your first joint effort. Okay, here we go. How did you two first meet, and what made you decide to work together?
You go.
Well, I met Eugenio about, 15 years ago. He was looking for writers for a late night talk show that actually didn't happen. But then, eventually he needed writers for his other projects, and, we came up with Eugenio Derbez. And
he was the only writer who showed up.
I was the only writer who showed up, and he was like, all right, and that's the magic happens.
That's how it happened.
Yeah.
No, we've been working together for many years, and I love the kind of humor he manages. So we started writing my show that was aired in Mexico and Latin America. And then after many, many years that I'm going to tell you what happened, how we ended up writing this film. But after many, many years, we decided to start writing a film. But that's going to be, I'll tell you in the next question.
The next question. All right, here we go. So, Eugenio, you have such a dynamic career. You've worked as an actor in film, television, and theater, and are a celebrated star in both Mexico and now the U.S. Okay, here's the question. How did you get started in the business, and how are you able to keep making these things happen in so many different areas of the business?
Well, I started because my mom was a very famous soap opera actress. She was the drama queen in Mexico. She was like the queen of the soap operas. Silvia Derbez was her name, and I was born in a set, so that's what I started. I've been doing soap operas, since I was a kid. All my life. I mean, not as an actor, but as an extra, here, there, everywhere. And I started loving this career because of my mom. So, how did I ended up doing all this? I'm very, very curious about doing whatever. I started doing television, but then I wanted to do films. That was, 13 years ago, more or less?
13 years ago, yeah.
And it was weird because nobody trusted me in Mexico. And in the US, of course, nobody. But in Mexico, I was just like the comedian, the funny guy, but nobody wanted me in a film. So when I started looking for a role in a film, everyone said, sorry, but we can't hire you because your image is so strong, doing your characters like the Longe Moco, El Superportero, Armando Hoyos, my characters, Familia Peluche. We don't want the audience to see in a very important film, we don't want to see your characters in the middle of our movie. So I realized that nobody was going to hire me. So that's the reason why we started writing Instructions Not Included. Because I said, nobody's going to hire me, I have to hire myself. And that's what I did. It was a big lesson because nobody believed in me as an actor in Mexico, and nobody knew me here in the US. So I went with Eduardo and I said, we have to do a film. I want to write a film. So when people ask, how do you ended up with this story, you can watch the elements. I need a film that with comedy and drama like Life is Beautiful. So we said, yeah, let's take some ingredients from Life is Beautiful, from
well, we watched
The Champ.
We screened a lot of films, and we looked at the films that we loved, and we looked at everything from Amélie, The Bicycle Thief, and also classics from Mexican cinema. And then we're like, this is the spirit. I think mostly we thought about, in Cinema Paradiso, there's a scene where everyone's like watching this movie, and everyone in the town is like rich and poor and young and old, and they're laughing at the same movie. So we're inspired by that spirit of bringing everyone together with the film. So that's a little bit what we were shooting
And then I
for.
said, I need something. Well, if we are doing a film, let's do it for both markets. Maybe I can act with an American actress, and I can be famous in the US also. So let's make a story that flows between Mexico and the US. And that's why we started thinking about a guy who crosses the border. But I said, but I don't want to talk about immigrants. Yeah. It's the same story. I don't want to do that. I want just to flow between the two countries, but with another kind of story. So, well, at the end,
yeah, I think something that I've learned from Eugenio along the years is that he's somebody who creates his own opportunities. If he's not waiting for somebody to hand him a role. So as an actor, he's taken control of the script. He's taken control of the direction as well, because we started out thinking, writing the movie, and then let's take it to this famous director, and we were very naive at the time, and we had the door slammed on our faces several times, and then, or people will read it and they're like, oh, let's do it this way, and then add this song here, and then, even editors ended up with a version of the movie that Eugenio wasn't pleased, so Eugenio started editing, and himself, and the first step was like, nobody gets the movie, so I'm gonna direct it myself, which is another, interesting thing that happened.
that's true. I was going to put at the end, in the credits, in the final credits, I was going to put un agradecimiento.
You're gonna thank.
I was going to thank to all these people that shut the door on my face. I swear. I didn't do that at the very, very, very end, because we discussed this with the co-producer, and she said, don't do that, because a lot of people are going to feel that you are like ardido.
Yeah, spiteful, or yeah.
But I want to put that thanks for all the people that shut the door in my face, because thanks to you all, I ended up doing this. I ended up writing this film, and I ended up directing that I didn't want to direct. This is my first time directing. I didn't know I was able to direct. So I really wanted to do that. So it was a great, great lesson to me, that every time a door shuts in your face, it's because something good is going to happen. And it's for real.
Eugenio is very modest, obviously. I mean, he's somebody who's very resilient, but basically, he definitely seizes every opportunity. And again, he's not waiting for somebody who is gonna give him all this. I just put this chance on his lap. But I also want to speak to the perception that if you speak Spanish or in the Latin market, you probably think like, oh, because he was a famous TV star, everything happened and was handed to him on a plate. And that was not the case at all. And there was a lot of concerns. If you're a little bit familiar with the film business, they're like, is he able to carry a movie by himself? Just because he's very successful on TV doesn't mean that he can't carry a movie himself. Is this mixed of, can he do drama? I mean, there was all sorts of questions, and people were questioning many of his abilities, and he's just stuck to his guns. And again, I think we all are here in this market sometimes thinking, oh, when is somebody gonna come to my door and offer this thing that is right for my abilities and right for so that's what he did. Like, if you feel you can sing and you want to write a role for yourself, and might not be great the first time, and you work over the years and you have to make things happen. That's a great lesson.
That's our best advice. Yeah, you have to do it by yourself. Nobody's gonna call you. I mean, sometimes, but not.
You can call us if you have something interesting that might offer to us. But
All right, let's move on. Eduardo, you've written a
Yes.
wide variety of projects in film and television. You've had huge success in Mexico with your shows Eugenio Derbez, La Familia Peluche. In the U.S., you've recently signed a 2-picture deal with Fox International Productions. Bravo. Here's the question. How and where did you get your start in the business as a screenwriter and a producer?
I started, again, a little bit in a smaller version. I'm from Monterrey, Mexico, and represent Regio. And I was just somebody there listening to radio, and I thought, there could be just room for something funny, and I just recorded a tape at home and went to like the big radio station, and they were crazy enough to open the door and listen to my stuff, and they're like, all right, can you start writing stuff tomorrow? And I was like, okay, and they just ended up writing stuff for them, and then I was like, well, I can do this in Mexico City, why not? So I moved to Mexico City, and I came with my tape and knocked on the door, and I guess there's not enough people that are crazy enough to just do that, and eventually that's how I made another writer, Hector, who was working with Eugenio, and he said, we're looking for writers for Eugenio, and Eugenio was crazy enough to, because I was very young at the time. I don't know if I would give someone like me an opportunity in their early 20s, and but he's very open to everyone's ideas, and he's. We have like El Poli, we have the security guard at the office, and we have and he's always open, he's always making sure to connect with, that our ideas connect with everyone, and they're not like snobbish or, he makes sure that everyone, from the executives in the network to, the people working the door, understand and then know their name. I think thanks to that I'm here, because he was very open to this, kid from Monterrey that just had all these very interesting ideas at the time, and that's why I'm sitting here with you guys.
And he was cheap also.
He was also cheap ever.
In that time, not now, not anymore, I swear.
All right, here's a question for both of you. We'd love to cover your vast range of successful projects, but we've just seen your great film. Here we go. Now, how did this project come about? Meaning the concept, the idea, how did it come about for both of you?
Well, I kind of answered the question, but you go. It was...
Yeah, I mean, Eugenio has specifically that we've seen a few films, and he wanted something that portrayed that story, and then we started writing. I would say probably started as a comedy with a little bit more drama at the end, and it just turned into the story that we see today. And
first we started putting the drama, doing the structure of the film. So the first draft was just drama, no comedy at all, just drama. And it was very dramatic. Then we said, let's put let's take some things out, because I wanted to be a family family film for the whole family, because I saw that it was a need from the audience to watch these kind of films. Mexican films, and actually all Hispanic films, were always like Hispanic films equal drugs, sex, dirty words, violence, poorness, blah, 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 blah. So everyone was like a kind of, I think it was too much. The market was saturated with this kind of films. So I said, why not doing a Mexican film like this, with light, for the whole family? Because since Cantinflas, when Cantinflas was there, the whole family can go to the movies to watch his films. But now it's everything about sex and drug lords and narcos and all that stuff. So let's do something different. The people is needing that. So we start writing the film with these elements. We put a lot of comedy. The next drafts were too funny. It was like one of my shows, my TV shows. It was, remember, we have a version with Michael Jackson and Britney Spears.
Carlos Salinas de Gortari was there.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. I was with Sammy, the guy from the restaurant.
Shop, the restaurant in Acapulco.
The one who's just like stutter. The one in the very end. I went to get rid of the baby, and we put it in, outside the house, and then somebody opened the door, and it was Michael Jackson when he was alive. When he was alive, and cut, and we said, no, let's not do this to the baby. Those kind of things, but it was too much. It was not the tone was very different from now. So we start getting rid of all those jokes. Well, Michael Jackson, for obvious reasons, was not anymore there. Yeah. But then we changed from Jackson to Britney Spears. Mm-hmm. And then we get rid of that joke, and then we start making the balance between drama and comedy. So.
I also have to point out, I mean, this film took about 13 years from when we started writing to when it got released, and for any number of reasons. So along the way, some jokes that were probably very funny but not relevant at the time,
but yeah, 13 years because nobody believed in the project, and so it took like 10 years to raise the money, at least. So it was very, very hard to raise. The budget was $5.5 million. That here for the U.S. is nothing, but for Mexico it was one of the biggest budgets for a movie ever. So it was very hard to find $5 million in Mexico. So that took us more than 10 years, and then 2 of developing. It was like 13 years. But the thing is that during these years, we could rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. That's why this is, maybe, I'm not kidding, maybe the 40th something draft.
It's about
almost 50 drafts. 50. No, 15. It was a lot of work. It changed a lot. Every month we were rewriting and rewriting and rewriting, thanks to the investors that didn't believe in us. So
yes. So I'm the only writer that survived that process. There were other people, they died.
Exactly.
No, but Eugenio is I don't know if you read this about him, but he's a perfectionist, and he definitely doesn't compromise as far as the quality of the script. So as a writer, that can be very frustrating sometimes, but you also learn that, because he's also gonna, in TV it's always been that way. Film was a different thing, it was new.
Even worse.
But you knew that he's gonna then execute it and act it, and when he lives in something, he has to be really convinced and earn it, and then he's really putting himself on the line for you and for your writing. So you want to make sure that he's on board with everything, and his instincts are the best in the industry, and so that's why it took also a long time, because at first the first hurdle was like, okay, there's a film for this TV actor, Eugenio Derbez. Okay, finally, okay, let's hear it. Let's see if we're gonna. And then he's like, wait, he's gonna direct too. So that was another 5 years that we're on the road to, and then until finally it came to fruition was great.
Okay, here, this question is particularly relevant, I think, considering where we're at right now. But can you comment on the phenomena of your crossover success, and how that affects your decision-making in pursuing projects to both write and produce? The whole idea of crossover and appealing to both markets.
Well, it comes together with what we said. I've been trying to do the crossover since 2002, 2003, when I started with a play called Latinologues here in LA.
I saw it on Broadway, by the way.
Well, we ended up in Broadway doing Latinologues on Broadway in 2005. And I was really, really trying to do the crossover for all these many, many years. And after doing a lot of work and paying my plane tickets, my hotel, my expenses, everything, just even I was not get paid. I was just doing this because I wanted to be part of the show. So I invested in my career and just to have this crossover. It never came in certain. I mean, yes, I was doing Broadway and it was great, but it didn't happen as big as I wanted. So after many, many years, what really gave me the crossover was this film. So it was a great lesson also, because after almost 10 years of coming to the US, knocking at the doors, and doing whatever it takes to get a job here in the US and doing the crossover. The thing that gave me the impulse, the biggest impulse in my career for doing the crossover, was a film that was written in my office in Mexico City. So it's weird because I could have earned a lot of time instead of coming here, writing more films in Mexico. So what I'm trying to tell you is that life is very, very, very weird. When you think it's that way, and you are always like a fly in a window, you know, bang, 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 and there's a door open here, there. So it was crazy, and it was very, very unusual that this film that was written in my office with my writers was my vehicle to the crossover, more than coming here to knock at the studios where nobody opened the door. So, yeah.
And it's also special circumstances because I think now it's not only crossing over to another industry, but now the industry itself is shifting and, you know, opening up for Latinos, and it's also meeting a little bit halfway because they're like, okay, so what do you guys have to say? What other stories you have to tell that speak to this, you know, segment on the audience that all of a sudden we discover, and we're like, yeah, we also have this. We've been writing for our community, for our audience for a lot of time, and we know them, and so you wanna probably listen to a couple.
Yeah,
of things
because now the producers think that we have the secret to reach the Latino audience finally, and it's like we've been reaching this audience since I was young, so we know what they cry at, what they laugh at. And things that made this film successful was things like, for example, is one of the few times, because that's what the people says to me, that they see a Latino or a Hispanic portrayed in a screen that is not a criminal or a dealer or whatever. And they love that.
Or even in especially a three-dimensional character who's a good father, because you know they have also like the character of the gardener or the valet parking, which is the reality for a lot of Latinos. But instead of seeing the gardener or the valet parking that we know, it's just a cartoon version of it, and there's no depth. And this character Valentin has a lot of layers, and he's a good father, and he loves his daughter. So they were very, very careful to see. Yeah, he's a Mexican dad who is actually fighting for his family, which is, you know, a lot of what happened, and that was a beautiful thing that happened, you know, to us in social media, and people were reaching out and saying, wow, your movie, you know, we're really happy that you represented a community. You know, I took my grandmother for the first time to the movies in like 30 years. She's never been there. And, you know,
a lot of stories like that one.
Yes, or like my mom, she hadn't been to the movie theater since Titanic, and we're like, wow, you need to take your mom off. No, but it's an additional effect that we were not expecting, and we're like, wow, we have also responsibility because this is a movie that is representing our community as well. So we're keeping that in mind for sure.
And I have another anecdote, really fast.
We love anecdotes.
I told you that it took 10 years to raise the money. Well, in the year number 5, Fox, 20th Century Fox USA, not Mexico, 20th Century Fox USA, finally said, we're going to produce your movie. So I was really happy. And they said, we just have one request. And I was like, yes. Which one? You need to change the end. There's no way a kid, a 7-year-old kid is going to die at the end. There's no way. So, but don't worry, you can die instead of the kid. And I was like, but wait. The greatness of this script is the twist at the end. And I mean, it's going to be just one more Hollywood movie if I die. this is going to be different. And they said, no, no, it's too strong. It's too strong. The audience don't want to see that kind of, it's shocking to see. I mean, and I was like, yes, I know it's shocking. And that's what I want. When I go to the movies, I want to cry, I want to laugh, I want to be moved. And then they said, no, 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 you have to change the ending. If not, we're not going to produce the film. So it was really, really a great decision to make, because I had to say no. My guts, my tripas, said no, no, no. I can betray my script. I can betray the idea of the main twist at the end. So I rejected the offer from Fox, but I kept my final, the final we wrote, and just after the movie opened and did the numbers that it did, the guy from Fox, this was last year, called me, invited me to have dinner, and he said, I just want to apologize, and I want to tell you that I was wrong. And yeah, and now we are starting to writing. We're writing as a new script for this guy and for Fox, because of all this anecdote. So
we're keeping our ending.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to jump up. There's so many wonderful questions. Let me ask you just a couple more, and then we'll go to the audience questions. Of interest to a lot of people is the new social media. So in a recent collaboration between the both of you, you did a Procter & Gamble digital ad campaign where, Eugenio, you star as soccer fan expert Aquiles Alisto. Now, the ad coincided with the summer's World Cup in Brazil. So a big part of the campaign relied on sharing of online video through social media. Okay, here's the question. Can you describe your experience working on this project and talk a little about how you are interfacing with this burgeoning new social media?
Well, okay. Well, like I said, Eugenio's philosophy is to be very democratic and listening to people and creating new ideas. And so we had a great experience working with P&G, and also looking forward and the new stuff that we're doing with Tripas. We've talked about also creating more opportunities precisely because of Eugenio's philosophy that you have to create your own opportunities. So we're also looking into creating platforms for other people, Latinos, Mexicanos in Mexico, and people here to, bring us content and create their own characters and create their own humor. So you'll be hearing more of that soon, but we're definitely, the web is also a territory that has more freedom.
We need ideas. If you have ideas, please.
He's going to take credit for everything, but no, it's true. No. We're definitely looking forward to more content, and we're definitely going to use, all the stuff that's happening in social media to expand the community of creators, because we need more voices in the Hispanic market in the U.S. So we can all do it together for sure.
All right, here's another thing we've learned about Eugenio is that you're a Formula 3 race car driver. Last question for both of you. What are your passions outside of film and television? And how do these passions, interests, how do they inspire your creative work?
Is there life outside this?
I don't think so, no. Nobody told me that.
Well, there's no time for another things or for hobbies or anything.
Well, you had a baby.
I had it, yes.
It was time for that.
Yeah, just once, and I'm very fertile, so I don't have enough time. But pero la aprovecho. I take advantage of this small free time I have. I used to drive cars. I love animals. I'm trying to build a shelter in Mexico, the first decent shelter for animals in Mexico, and me encanta la adrenalina. racing cars and doing crazy stuff. I love that.
Eugenio has really like a soft spot for like stray dogs, and in the Desierto de los Leones, we would have like come into the office and have 2 new dogs because Eugenio found them on the street, and so he really means it. It's not a joke.
So no hobbies. Okay.
No.
All right, here we go. There's so many good questions. Let's see. How was the casting process for Instructions Not Included? Was it easier or harder than your other projects? And that's a great question because I think all of us were just so impressed by the bilingual. You know, it was just amazing. And how people learned Spanish. Did they know it or not? I mean, amazing. So.
Well, Maggie, for starters.
Well, let me start with Jessica Lindsay. Congratulations, Jessica, because you are one of the few American actresses that speak Spanish, and that's very.
Bravo.
That's incredible, and let me tell you, it's weird because when we were casting actresses, we find out that there are just a few actresses that speak American actresses that speak Spanish, and we needed a real American that speaks Spanish, and thank God Jessica appeared in my life, and she has everything we needed. And it was, but it was really, really, really hard. I have to come here to LA to do the final casting for her, and but I was surprised that there were no actresses with fluent Spanish, and that was good for you. I know, and Maggie. The story is that for more than 10 years.
We wrote the part for a boy originally.
The part was a boy. It was for a boy, so it was not Maggie. His name was Tommy. Well,
it was Theo first, and then Tommy.
Theo, like Theo, pero sonaba como a tío. Like in Spanish, tío is uncle. So it was weird. So we changed it to Tommy, and we were looking for Tommy, and I was obsessed. I said, it has to be a boy. So after many, many months, many weeks and a few months, we didn't find our boy, and I was desperate. So I came, we were looking in New York, Los Angeles, Mexico, everywhere, and we never found our Tommy. So we, at the last minute, we said, let's take a look at the script and see if we can change it from boy to girl in case we can find an actress and a girl. So we said, well, we have to do some changes, but nothing big. So let's go for a boy or girl. And we were desperate. We were like, 3 weeks or a month? Like 3 weeks away from start shooting. And we didn't have the boy that was the star of the film. So after 3 weeks, I was so desperate. We went again with the casting agencies in New York, Mexico, and Los Angeles, and nothing happened. So I was so desperate that I started tweeting. And I said, please, if somebody knows boy or girl, blonde, blue eyes, with perfect Spanish, perfect English, with no accent at all in both languages. Finally, we found, I tweeted this, and a girl in Mexico City called Loreto Peralta. She was not an actress. She was a normal girl, like any other girl.
No experience.
No experience at all. Nothing. She was just a girl. She was blonde because his dad is blonde. She speaks perfect English because she's a wealthy. Well, her family is very wealthy. Very.
She goes to American school.
No, that's funny because when we did the last scene when she dies and with the camera, I said we need a helicopter, and her dad was like, "Well, I can bring my helicopter." Okay.
You're like, yeah, our helicopter is broken, so all right, you can use yours.
When we were at the zoo, Jessica was telling, remember? Tell that anecdote, please. Come here. she was like, "Oh, Loreto, look at the elephants."
Hi, everybody. So we were shooting, we shot Mexico City for Los Angeles, almost the entire film. We just did exteriors here for a week. And we were in a zoo in Mexico City, and it was fun. We were shooting in a zoo, and we were just like kind of enjoying working in a zoo, and I thought that was a cool thing for a 7-year-old kid. And she was like, "Yeah, no, we have lions too." And I was like, "Ha." She was like, "No, we do." I was like, "Where?" And she said, "No, in our farm we have a zoo. Like, well, think of an animal." And I was like, "A jaguar." She's like, "We have 3." They have an entire like ranch filled.
She was like, "An elephant.
Like
we have
we have a giraffe, and we've been breeding no sé qué. Like very dangerous exotic
Yeah,
animals.
they have like 50 white lions.
Yeah.
Amazing. In a very, very, very beautiful place and surrounded by nature. Beautiful. It's not exactly a zoo. It's a very
Needless
beautiful
to say,
place.
she was unimpressed.
But it was
with the
very
zoo.
funny.
She was like, "Yeah, we have this
Well,
in my house."
what way was I telling this?
The helicopter.
Yeah, whatever. The thing is that this girl, because the English, yeah, sorry, I was going too far. So she speaks English because she goes to American school, and she every summer and Christmas she comes to the U.S. and have fun with her friends and.
But she's a nice. I mean, she's a really nice girl. Very, very,
and
very grounded.
She's very nice, awesome, great actress. So she's always between Mexico and the U.S. And finally, I had to stay with Loreto. But I remember when I came for my last trip trying to find Tommy, and I didn't find it. I went back to Mexico really, really disappointed and sad. And I said, well, there's no other chance. I have to try to get in love with Loreto. It's my only chance, and I'm going to try to make her work. And I didn't realize how a big actress and how charming she was. And thank God it was a mistake, and that happened because we didn't find the boy, but something happened, the universe conspired, and I ended up working with her, and that was a great, great, great. This destiny stuff, yeah.
All right, here we go. There's a question here, because you mentioned the music. Someone wants to know how you chose the composers. Or did he choose you?
He was the only one in town.
Eugenio was very clear that he wanted, we look to, we really admire Italian cinema, and we like European feeling of the music, and that was very clear in Eugenio's head from the beginning, because he wanted that specific sensibility that you can only get from a certain composer.
Yeah, we noticed that our favorite musics in films like Cinema Paradiso, like
Life is Beautiful.
Life is Beautiful, Forrest Gump, all of them, the greatest musicians for films are Italian. Yeah. They have a sensibility and special sensibility, the Italians. So I was clear, I need an Italian musician. That's true. I said, I told my producer, I need an Italian musician. Then I remembered that I worked with an Italian musician in Under the Same Moon. And actually, when I was doing the editing, I put a lot of music from La Misma Luna, from Under the Same Moon, because it was the kind of sensibility that I needed. And suddenly I said, okay, Carlos Iliotto, of course, he's Italian. He did the music for Under the Same Moon. I love his music. I love his talent. And the producer said, yes, but he's very expensive. So I said, well, let's give it a try. Maybe he can touch his heart and his wallet and help us. And so we called him. And thank God, because he was the only guy who can do what you saw, you heard. And we finally get in touch with Carlo, and Carlo read the script. Nobody told him that it was my film, and he discovered that. Tell this the anecdote, please.
Now the thing is, the music supervisor sent a script to me without the first page, so without any name, who is the writer, who the actors are and stuff. That page, I don't know, page 10, 14, something, is there is Julie saying, "Don't you remember? I am the eternal love of your life," and stuff, and say, "Ah, yes." Say, this must be Eugenio Derbez. So I Googled, I went to Internet Movie Database, and I said, what is going on here? Non si acceptan devoluzioni. Valentin, Eugenio Derbez. So I read the script, I called the music supervisor, say the script is great, 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 and say hi to Eugenio for me.
And yes, thank God
Great job.
And he's a great, great musician. He has the sensibility, and I really was clear that the music has to be another character, as much as important as another character in the film. It was very important for me, the last sequence, when he starts narrating all this stuff, it has to be extremely touching. So nobody like Carlo to do this work. Thank you for your
Bravo, maestro.
talent. Bravo, maestro.
All right, we need to just wrap up. So I think to close, and maybe this should be brief, commercial box office interests aside, if that's possible in this business, what would your dream projects be? What is that next big, wonderful project that's out there still for you? For both of you.
Well, you said something about the box office.
Oh, commercial. Well, this is the question. Commercial box office interests aside.
I always put aside the commercial box office interest. Always. I swear I'm not bullshitting. That's why I have a great career, I think. I've done these things because I trust my instincts,
Your tripas.
because I never work for money, never. Money comes later, and it's a consequence of the love you put in your work. That's all. The few times I've worked for money, nothing happens, nothing. And every time someone comes, like you came, crying and hugs me, that's for me the best payment. That's for me more than money. So I love touching hearts, and the money, it's something that comes aside. I trust me.
I have a story that Eugenio probably doesn't remember, but even before we started writing this movie, or we had the idea for a movie, we're like bouncing around other ideas, and I sat down with another writer, Armando Saldaña, I don't know if you remember, and we came up with an idea. I don't even remember what it is, but we came to Eugenio's office, we were like, well, what about this? And Eugenio just looked at me like, I just want to ask you something. He's like, are you really sure that people are really, really going to be touched and moved by this? And you're like, well, I don't know. I just sat down and thought about it. He's like, if you, and I got a little bit, it was the writer's ego was like, how dare you question? It was what came first to my mind before even considering the question. And I was like, yeah, of course people are going to see. And Eugenio's like, if you think that people are going to be really touched and they're going to line up and wait and to experience the movie, then if you personally guarantee that, then we're going to do this movie. If not, then we have to look for the next idea. And you're like, okay, then let's keep looking for an idea. And we found this idea, and 12 years later, the movie opens, and I'm looking at all these pictures on Instagram of people driving hours and lining and waiting outside, and with sold out. And I'm like, I'm really happy that we decided to do this idea, because it was something that really touched people, and brought all these people together. And I'm glad I listened to Eugenio back then. So that's I can attest to that he's really honest when he's saying he's basically I want to bring people together and I want to touch movie and what we call the taco factor. You want to talk a little bit about that? But he was like, we want to have the taco factor because in Mexico, when people go to the movies afterwards, you know, we're like, okay, let's go get tacos, and his measurement was like, if you feel that if by the time they go get tacos, they're still talking about the movie and just, and then you know you did a great job.
If the movie doesn't make it to the tacos, it doesn't worth it.
Is that worth it?
Not worth it.
All right. Well, listen, gentlemen, thank you so much. Very, very much.